All right, welcome back to Fox and Friends. Well, apparently the Clinton defense actually has worked. One U.S. Marine declaring victory this morning after he was charged with being careless with sensitive national information.
His defense attorney argued what Hillary did was worse, and charging his client would be a clear double standard.
So a judge ruling Major Jason Bressler can remain in the Marines. His attorney, Michael Bowe, is here to react. And, Michael, congratulations. You've been telling us about this story all along the way. Can you set it up for us?
Sure. There was a corrupt Afghan police chief who was on a base who brought Chai Boys, which are basically sex slaves, onto the base, who then murdered a Marine, Lance Corporal Greg Buckley, whose family is here in New York. The family was trying to get information about that, how that happened, and Major Bressler had previously, 2 years prior, removed that chief from a position in a different place.
Said he knew he was a sex slave. He knew he was abusing boys. They knew he was a bad guy. They shouldn't have put him back in that spot. And the family was being stonewalled in terms of trying to get information about what happened. They went to their Congressman Peter King here in New York. He was also the congressman for Major Bressler. Major Bressler had information about that. He also went to his congressman. And in our statutes, every service member has a statutory protected right to talk to their congressman. They don't have many rights, right? They have very restricted rights. But one of their important rights is they have a right to talk to their congressman about anything without being retaliated against. He did that, and then he got retaliated against, and they convened a board of inquiry, which is a trial, basically, to discharge him from the Marine Corps. But why would he be retaliated against?
He was retaliated against.
It made news.
Because this was a story. The whole story about our partners in Afghanistan being engaged in this bakabazi, where they keep these young boys as basically sex slaves, was sort of a notorious secret.
And the military didn't want this out, so they go after him. They kick him out.
They kick him out after what we believe was a kangaroo court trial, and then they had a recommendation to kick him out. We went to court to stay it. It was stayed, and then yesterday the federal judge in the Eastern District of New York out on Long Island threw the proceeding out because he basically said that he had been in layman's terms, he had been deprived of a fair trial because they withheld all the critical documents he needed to show that he had been retaliated against.
How do you compare what he did to what Hillary Clinton did? How do you think that they compare?
Because the information about the bad guy was
did he use an email?
He sent an email, and he had, when he was originally in Afghanistan, the Marine Corps didn't have military computers for them to use, so they told him to use their own computer.
Right.
On his computer, when he left, you do a little turnover. It's called a turnover file. It's a file for your successor. When he left, he inadvertently left that on his computer. His computer then was, and this was at his home.
Yeah, but he told the boss, "Hey, look what I did."
He sent an email warning about this Sarwar John guy, and as a result, they looked at his computer. They found this turnover file on it, and they punished him. And it was over. In other words, he had been punished, and he's continuing his career. And then later, when he talked to his congressman, then they retaliated against him to throw him out.
So you won yesterday. It was a big relief for you. And what about for the Dickinson family, who lost their Staff Sergeant Scott and Corporal Richard Rivera and Lance Corporal Greg Buckley, all killed by this guy?
So for the Buckley family, who I also represent in their efforts to get information, this was a huge relief because they lost Greg Buckley Jr. to this murder, but they've also been tormented by the fact that this Marine, who was the only Marine who did the right thing by trying to get them the answers that they were entitled to, was being retaliated against. And Greg Buckley Sr., I think, has said on this show that he felt like he had lost his son again watching Jason Bressler be thrown out of the Marine Corps for that.
Michael Bowe, thanks so much. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Bowe.
Thank you.
So now he's back in the Marines, right?
Yep.
He gets to stay.
All right.
Good.
Coming up straight ahead for the